Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for supporting Indie Agency News. Okay, we're going to do some indie thinking today, and I can't wait to bring our guests on. So let me set this up though, because all right, we're going to talk about healthcare. We're going to talk about healthcare marketing. As we all know, just the landscape in general and what we do is changing incredibly rapidly. Now, in healthcare marketing, that landscape shifts very fast. So let's talk about budgets. So they're tightening. FDA enforcement actions are up. Compliance stakes. There's always been a lot around compliance related to healthcare, but it's getting even more strenuous. So in the environment that we're in right now, one piece of it, and this is something for any agency, this is not simply for healthcare agencies, the dreaded three words, or three letters rather, RFP. So request for proposal, those would be three words. It's not just inefficient. It's actively selecting the wrong partnerships. And so we are bringing in two wonderfully brilliant people from our members. Yes, and we're going to address this because they have this amazing framework that they've been building that addresses all of this and more. So Jeff and Jean, thanks so much for joining us. And I want to start with this. Let's start with what was the problem you saw with healthcare RFPs that made you want to build this framework? So walk us through a little bit of the background, because I think it's important to contextualize all that.
Sure. I'll start and hand it off to you, Jeff. RFPs came out of what used to be a financial construct. When people were buying beds and widgets and whatever, like it really didn't matter. You just wanted the lowest price. So you get the specs and then you get an RFP and you go with the lowest bidder. But really, when you're talking about marketing, you're talking about, I want a relationship with somebody and I want somebody who understands me and knows me and what have you. So by its very nature, it's never going to achieve that because it's one-way communication, right? So when I was on the inside, I would always meet with different people, vendors, and interview them because, how often do I pick a vendor? Maybe once every 3 or 4 years or something. So I got smart about what's being offered, how it's operating, things like that. And I got a sense about them before any RFP ever went out because, I'm trying to see if there's going to be a good fit. And if these people get me and they get our organization and they get the market. And unfortunately, RFPs, it's one way and you're judged on how good your paperwork is. And that's no way to start a relationship. So
no. And I think, and what's interesting to me is I just think the entire process in and of itself, it's I mean, Gina, to your point, and again, as context, you were on the other side of it. You were on the brand side of it. I feel like the chemistry session seems to be logically the first place to go. That's a different discussion for a different time. But Jeff, you've been in the agency business for a long time. I'd like your point of view on this because not only in healthcare, but name an industry, it's so interesting because the brands still wring their hands over it. The agencies still wring their hands over it. And we really haven't found much of a great middle ground. So walk us through your thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's absolutely right. This idea of a middle ground. I feel like there are a couple of challenges that we were seeing when it came to healthcare RFPs, and it all stems from the fact that healthcare is so complicated. As a business, as an industry, as a brand, if you're responsible for building a healthcare brand, it is a highly regulated, complex thing. And so we would see that in the RFPs that we were getting. So on one end of the spectrum, it would be clear that a potential healthcare client wasn't really sure what they were looking for, or they weren't really sure what the problem was that they were trying to solve. So it would be this very vague request to think about something, put some thoughts together about something, but you could tell they weren't very clear in their minds. What is the problem we're trying to solve? Who are the people, who are the audiences we're trying to connect with? So then it was left up to us to make some educated guesses on what path we want to go down from a very vague RFP. On the other end of the spectrum, we would see RFPs where they would just skip that whole strategy piece of it, and they would talk about, here's what we are looking for an agency to deliver for us. Like, these are the things, the assets, the deliverables
Tactics
that we need you to make. And so either end of those two that spectrum put us in a position where we would feel like we were guessing a little bit, and that's not the best feeling. So this idea of trying to find a way to make it clear through the RFP process that we understand your business, we understand the category, we have a very clear sense of the problem you're trying to solve, and therefore here are the things that we recommend doing. That's the kind of RFP that we love to sink our teeth into. And I will say, on a much more tactical level, transparency when it comes to budget, because I think as an agency, the way we would solve a problem, if you have this budget, is going to be very different than the way we would solve it if you have that budget. So being honest and transparent as much as you can with what are we looking to spend here, will influence our thinking a lot.
Yeah. And here's what I find interesting too, is you brought up a really, really good point, which is, what does an agency exist to do? The agency exists to solve a business problem for a client. And you're right in that on the client side of it, they may have this vague idea, but it sounds so great to be able to, it's that thing of, they don't know what they need until they see it in front of them. And it's like, we never really thought of that. So to me, that puts you in pole position. And we'll talk about Jeff and I and our horse, our weirdly specific horse connection here in a second, later in the show. But there's that piece of it. And I also want to go, so you mentioned, we've talked about complexity. We've talked about how stressful it is. I want to pivot real quick. I want to ask you about, because in healthcare and in this part of our business, there are a lot of people who have been around for a very long time, yet we have a lot of younger talent or newer talent that are coming in. Maybe they're a little bit scared. If you're bringing in somebody who's maybe new, let's just say someone graduated from Boston University, I'm giving that one to you, Jeff, or University of Delaware, Gene, I'm giving that one to you. And, how would you even train them or advise them to navigate any of this?
Are you talking if they're on the client side or
on the agency side? Because I think that what we're going to talk about here is the framework, and yes, and obviously clearly does amazing work across the board, but in this specific area, how do you bring new talent along in that?
Yeah. Do you want me to take that one, Jane, and then you can add on? I think one of my least favorite expressions is "fake it until you make it," and I think there are a lot of people in this business that have done very well by faking it until they're making it. I think healthcare is the great equalizer, and you cannot fake it in healthcare. It's complicated, it's highly regulated, it's political, it's a lightning rod for social issues that are in the news all the time. And so I think when it comes to training young people, it is about rolling up your sleeves and getting really smart about what's going on in this industry and what's going on with your particular healthcare client from a category perspective, from a business perspective. And we have a pretty solid and consistent process for how to get everybody on our healthcare team up to speed on what's going on. And so I think that's a critical part of it, is reading, learning, digesting, absorbing, being obsessed with all things healthcare, so that you can think about your clients' problems from a strategic business perspective, not just does the logo need to be bigger? Does the tagline need to be updated?
The logo always needs to be bigger, Jeff.
Without it goes without saying, of course, but it's deeper than that. It's deeper.
No,
than
100%. No, 100%. Put that starburst over there in the corner.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about the framework that that was built. What does a better RFP process look like from the healthcare client's perspective, based upon walk us through what you've built and how that positively affects those healthcare clients? Jean, you want to start this?
I can start. So part of what Jeff was talking about was getting to know them, right? And so they might send out an RFP, and it's up to us to say, can we have a conversation before we have some questions here we need to talk to you? And I can tell you that Jeff and I have been in a situation where there were 100 people on a call with a procurement department, and we were all told we could ask questions during this period. It was awful. It was the worst. On the other hand, Jeff was able to get a client who eventually signed to understand what he was going for, that he really wanted to understand all of their problems. And, it's not just the business problems, but there's also a real culture in healthcare, and, when you've got a big system and you've got what I used to call the mothership, the big hospital, and then all these little ones, right? The little ones always feel they don't get anything. Well, you've got to understand that culture. You got to understand specialty care versus primary care and what those nuances are when you talk about them, or else you're not going to get anywhere. And you're not going to get anywhere with the person who's hiring you. But when you have to present creative to some of these groups, they're going to look at you like, you don't know who we are, or you don't understand how healthcare works. We're not, we're not the Ace Hardware store where you go in and you buy something for X, Y, and Z. It's very different, And so we've had two recent examples where I thought Jeff did a masterful job of getting the client to relax enough to sit and talk about all of their needs in a real personal way, so that we were able to then respond to what they needed very specifically. And they got it. They got that we listened, which is the number one thing you should bring to all of these processes, and that we heard what they said. And I think that's important. And not enough people put emphasis on that. I mean, there's another part of my life where I have worked with companies that are trying to sell to healthcare. So they hire me to come in to talk to their salespeople. Right. They have no clue how these organizations are organized. So they don't know how to get into them,
Right.
Well, we have to do better than that. And so as the agency of record, we have to take the time to really understand them, so that when we talk, we can talk to every level in that organization. And that's part of the framework Jeff's put together.
Yeah.
So good, Jeff. There's nothing more to add. You need to continue this. I will do nothing but ruin this.
Yes, and
please continue.
Thank you, Jean. I appreciate the
it's true. It's true.
No, I appreciate that. I do. I agree. I think for us as an agency, we're all in those situations where you read the RFP and there's some parts of it that make total sense, and you're like, yep, I know exactly what we need to do to answer this question. There are others where it may not be as clear, but I think for us, the consistency in a framework comes from really three layers. One is, and we've talked about this already, but just making it clear, we know healthcare from a strategic business perspective. We know the category, we know your business. The second layer is, we have a clear perspective that is research driven, data based on how to solve your problem. We also have the capabilities here at our agency to deliver on that solution. And then I think the third part, and it may be the most important part in the whole thing, is there is a partnership you're going to get from working with us as an agency. You will have a team that not only knows your business, but actually cares about your business, and a team of people that are not only very smart and capable and good at their jobs, but they're people that you will enjoy working with, and over time you will come to trust. And so I think through the RFP process, there are those things that you write down on the piece of paper or include on the slides in the deck that you build. But there's also that opportunity to engage with the clients through that RFP process and starting to build that relationship and giving them a feel for what it's like to work with our team.
Mhm.
Right. Yep.
One other thing I'd like to mention, because
Yeah.
Jeff gets such a tickle out of it, is that when I started with Yes and last year, they would show me their deck and I would go, this is way too long. You've got to, I mean, people don't have the time to go through this, but the one that always makes him laugh is, I call it pale, male, and stale. They put up all the people, it's PMS. They put all the men who run the agency on a site, and I go, do you know that 80% of the people who run healthcare marketing departments are women?
Right.
I said, get rid of this slide. Just get rid of it. And don't put anything in your slide deck that they can already learn on your website. You're just wasting time.
That was a good one.
Just get to the meat of what they want, because they're going to have 30 people in this room. And if every one of them has a question, you've left no time for them. And they're going to be pissed. They're going to say, well, my doctors were there and they didn't have a chance to ask you a question. So you gotta synthesize it so that you get right to the gist of what they need, and then get them to a point where they understand and trust you to get them there, that you're going to partner with them. And then a new thing, it's not really new, it's been around a while, but it's now we have the tools, is we have healthcare clients that are saying, look, we want to be a revenue generator. We don't want to be looked at as an overhead expense. So we have partners now that we can work with on the data and the finances to really show ROI on our efforts. And that makes a big difference, because that puts them, at the leadership table, and they're not an afterthought and the first thing that gets cut when budgets are tight. And that's a real change in healthcare marketing. But they never had the tools before until the last 5 or 6 years.
No, it's true. And I think healthcare, obviously, but it's the same in any category at this point. So I think a lot of things that you're saying, we're all here at the Church of Gene. I'm a convert. So yeah, it all makes so much sense. Let's talk about teaching healthcare clients to write these RFPs. Now, they're dealing with a lot of stakeholders, compliance requirements. The big one, institutional inertia. It's a little Dennis Miller there for you, babe. I got the hair for it too. Little gray. Little gray on that one though. How do you teach healthcare clients to do this? Jeff, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I think it goes back to the partnership piece of this, and being able to have honest conversations with the client. And sometimes it can be tough in these situations because they're probably not a client yet, they're a prospective client. But I do think it's a great way to start to set a tone for what a partnership with us would look like, where you can have an honest conversation. And we actually spend a lot of time talking about that in account management at Yes and, the art of having an honest conversation in a way that feels productive and constructive, and people recognize, like, we're talking about things because we all want the same thing. We all want to do the best work. We all want to solve the problem that you have. So I do think it is about through the RFP process, taking advantage of every opportunity to interact with a prospective client. If they've got a Q&A session, you go and you ask questions, and in a very positive and respectful way, push a little bit to bring some clarity to questions that may not be crystal clear, or be the person to ask the question that everybody else is afraid to ask. And I think that can help you stand out in a pretty compelling way as well.
Absolutely.
Pastor Gene, anything to add?
Pastor Gene, from the other side, when I was sitting as a CMO, there were a couple of go, no-go things. I would have the IT checklist for security. If they couldn't pass that, they weren't going to come to the door. If they were going to be touching patient data. In some cases they weren't, but at a minimum, you had to have that. This horror experience that Jeff and I had the other day had to do with a procurement where someone in procurement who knew nothing about marketing was leading the conversation, but basically just wanted every line filled in. It was an accounting sort of thing. Again, very not conducive to anything that's going to be successful. So I think when I would approach an agency, I go, look, at a minimum, I've got to have these things from you, or I can't even work with you. You've got to make sure you can get past IT, that you've got confidentiality agreements in place, all of those things. And then the one thing I used to do that put some people back on their heels, but the good ones didn't shy away from it, is I never asked for references. I asked for 2 clients they had lost in the last 3 years and why. And then I went and talked to those clients if that was really why they left. Because everyone who gives you a reference is going to say wonderful things about you, So find out somebody who you've lost and find out why and find out how they handled it. So it says a lot about the agency. So.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Thank you. I can go home now.
Oh my God. So, good. Like
come on. It's pretty basic.
No, I know, but it's staring us in the face. Everybody, no, I get that. It's like, of course that's a better way to do it.
I know. But as Jeff, wouldn't you agree the procurement thing we went through a couple of weeks ago was just formulaic? It was.
Yes.
Have you filed your taxes in the last 3 years? Well, yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be surprised.
It was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, not good at all. But others are much different. We like the enlightened clients.
Yeah. So one more question before we get to some quick rapid fires.
Uh-oh.
What have you heard back from the healthcare clients who have gone through this process, and how has it changed what they look for in an agency partnership? Jeff, let's start with you.
Yeah, so it's a good question. I think for us, what we've heard when it goes well and we go through an RFP process and we've won the business, one of the things that we hear is how much pressure they were under as a client, and how much us coming to a final pitch presentation in front of their leadership committee is a reflection on them as the senior marketing leaders at the organization. So they're putting a lot of trust in us to make them look good. It shows their ability to make good decisions and recognize smart thinking and talent when they see it. And so just what we consistently hear when it goes well is, thank you for making us look good. You won the business as the agency. You also helped me in my career here at this healthcare organization, because it's a very complicated and political environment, and everything I do, I want to put my best foot forward, and you helped me do that.
Yeah, no, that's a big one. That's a big one, Jane.
And these people have a lot on their plates. And so if you can take part of that burden off, that is great, But the most gratifying thing, I think, is when they call us up for something that's not even within what we're working with on them, but they know that we know them well enough that they'd say, look, this is going on. What do you think we should do? Or, looking for advice. And that counsel role really makes you feel like I'm part of them. I mean, they're operating their marketing operations with us as a key member of that group. And that's like the highest form of acceptance that I can think of.
Right. No, it's you're a trusted advisor as opposed to, and that goes back to I have this little rant of when brands will publicly say they're partners, but then when you peel back the onion a little bit, you see that they treat them like a vendor. And I think that truly demonstrates what partnership is and what it should be, what it could be and what it should be. I think, I couldn't agree more. Let's try a rapid fire. This one should be fairly easy. And Gene, you'll go first on this one. What's the one question every healthcare RFP should ask, but almost none do?
Where would you say your bench strength isn't very deep?
Here's what's interesting is I love this because it follows what you were saying about the 2 clients that you lost and why.
Mhm.
Because ordinarily we look at more the positive, but then being self-aware enough to know that you have challenges. And that's the reality, is that people are going to be stronger in some areas and their bench needs to improve in other areas. I think that's a fantastic
You
that's a
know,
great question.
another one that you do when you're further along is define for me a good client to you.
Mhm.
And because that teaches my staff, when I was the CMO, I would say to my staff, if you say you're calling it 10, you're calling it 10. You know, you do
Mhm.
not hang these people up. And so that accountability goes both ways. And I think that's a real important question. Again, it's like dating, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
Mm.
Jeff, same question to you.
Yeah. What is the biggest problem your agency's leadership team is trying to solve right now?
Mhm.
That's a good one too. That's a great one. That is a really great one. Wow. Okay. I got nothing to no notes.
No, it's great. Next question.
No, I think, listen, I'm going to get more a little personal here. So Gene, have we turned you into a Philadelphia Eagles fan yet? Being in Delaware? Oh,
No, you have not. No, you have
no,
not.
you have not. You're
So
a
you
Giants
need
fan?
no.
Okay.
No.
Balmer? Ravens? Okay. Well, that's fine. That's
Baltimore
fine.
Commanders. Baltimore Commanders.
Okay, I can live with that.
I've moved 9 times in my career. So, you know, it's been the Padres, it's been the Chargers, it's been the Bears. I've been, you know, but I'm really loving my Ravens and my Commanders.
That's good. I'll
Yep.
take that. I've got family
Okay.
in Maryland, and they are deep, deep purple Ravens fans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then San Diego, my goodness, Tacos El Gordo, best tacos on the planet, right?
El Indio is the best Mexican food north of the border. I mean,
Yeah. Forget it.
it's all
Yeah.
good. It's
Yeah.
all good. No, I was at Scripps Health for 9 years
Okay.
and loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
San Diego's a wonderful, wonderful place. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Jeff and I have this very, very weird connection.
Unique.
Let's put it that way. Yeah, unique is a good way of putting it. So this is the horse that we released. That is Flanagan. Flan the man. We co-lease, so we call it the Flan Club. So our daughter has been riding for a while, and this horse has no bearing or context into this next story. I come to find out that Jeff is a judge for the Interscholastic Equestrian Association, also known as IEA. And there are 9 zones around the country. So just think about the country being divvied up. So where we are is Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. And you'll go through and get points, and then you make it to your regionals. And then if you get past that, you go to this thing called zones. So the regionals is more like the state of Oregon, and then the zones is the bigger one. So last year, our daughter made it to zones. I come to find out that Jeff was the judge in Linden, Washington at IEA Zone 9 last year, which is the most random thing.
What are the chances
in the entire world?
You know, you can get a T-shirt in Baltimore that says the horse you came in on. You might want to think about that.
Yeah,
it is true. It's the name of a great bar in Fells Point.
Oh my God.
Great bar. Everybody buys that T-shirt.
Let me tell you about Fells Point in my 20s. Jeez. Oh boy. That was the only place where it was like they would pay you to do shots. I mean, it was just like, you want a Jägermeister, hun? It's like, okay.
We're trying to Natty Bows. We're trying to clean up our act a little bit.
It was the early 90s. So everything was chaotic in the early 90s. Okay. So Jeff, how did you even get started in all of this?
So my short version of the story, my parents were always interested in horses. They didn't ride growing up, and when they got married, they decided we're gonna live in a place where we can build a little barn in the backyard and have a couple of horses. And so that's what they did. And so I grew up with a barn in the backyard, and they bought me a pony when I was 7 years old for $35, and his name was Sparky. And he came with a Western saddle and a cart that he pulled. And I hated him. I would fall off every time I rode.
Was he bitey? He was bitey.
Awful in every way.
Yeah.
The worst, meanest pony you've ever met. And just one thing led to another, and upgraded a little bit. And there was a very well-known trainer about a half an hour away from our house that we randomly went to when I was about 10 years old. And it just sort of took off from there. And it becomes this all-consuming, year-round, 7-day a week kind of a thing when you've got a horse and you're competing in this sport. And it just went from there. So when I decided that horses was not what I was going to do for a full-time professional career, I wanted a career in advertising. Judging was a good way to stay involved in the sport on a part-time basis.
Yep. I'm going to show you this horse too. So
okay.
When Ruby started, this was the horse. Sorry, I'm wearing an Eagles hat there.
Oh.
So that's Tempe.
Right.
So that's my girl. So I'll go in, I'll give her little belly rubs, and she'll just stick her neck out, and she will cuddle me. And it is legitimately the greatest thing in the world.
Nice. She's got a crush on you.
Yeah.
She's the best.
Yeah.
Oh, every time I go in, I go, Tempe. Doesn't matter if she's eating. She gets up, says hello, and then comes over. So yeah. Well, listen, we pulled a mullet today. We talked a little business up front, a little party in the back. So
love it.
First of all, I appreciate you joining us. Really, really interesting perspective on this. And again, a reminder, everybody, like the context of this is healthcare, but a lot of what Gene and Jeff here are talking about really applies in a lot of different areas in our business. So first of all, thank you for sharing that wisdom, and thanks so much for being members. And you know what? We're going to see you we're doing a party in DC at your place in the spring. So we're looking forward to that. There's going to be more information on that. So thanks for the support, and thanks for joining us.
Maybe we can go to a Nationals game.
As long as they're playing the Phillies.
All right. Whatever. I do like Saquon Barkley. I think he's amazing.
Yeah, I know. We all do. Yeah. But listen, we'll save this for sports.
Wait a minute. You stole Harper from us.
No, you let Harper go.
No, you stole Harper from us. Yeah. I have his rookie jersey signed. Yeah. Well, if you're a true Nats fan, then sell it. Oh God, so bad.
Man, this is getting tense.
You know what? Let's get back to détente. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you. This was great.
Thank you. This was fun.
Bye-bye.
All right, hold on. Hang on. Don't go away. I got to hit end recording. This was hilarious.